and welcome to another episode of FooBar. In today's episode, we are keep on talking about my favorite re:Invent 2023 launches. And we keep on going with step functions because they are not done yet. So we talk about the Bedrock optimized integration, the test states capability, and now one of the most requested features is the one we are going to talk today, that is being able to call directly from a workflow and HTTP endpoint. Let's talk about that and let's dig in on how to make these applications happen. So, as I said, this is one of the most requested features by Step Functions customers, and it's something super useful. We have announced API destinations in EventBridge a couple of years ago, and customers love it. And this is something that was feeling that it was missing from Step Functions, because if we wanted to call an endpoint, we have to invoke a Lambda function that was basically wrapping a call to an endpoint. Why not to do it directly from the workflow and enjoy all the benefits that Step Functions provide out of the box, like retry timeouts and all kind of error handling and now redrive, so many things. So this is a perfect scenario for taking advantage of all those features. So one thing to have in mind is that these endpoints are using the Amazon EventBridge connections to manage the authentication credentials. So as we had for API destinations in EventBridge, if you don't know about API destinations, I leave you a link in the description box. You need to create a connection, and this will allow you to create the security for that endpoint. Usually there is either a password or a username and password, API keys, or a token, or whatever you're using. You can configure it in this connection. So that will keep all the secrets and all manage everything for you. And this is very important because usually these APIs are protected. But in the case that you're using a non-protected API, don't worry, you can pass any password and username as I'm going to do in my example, and it will work. But in general, in production situations, you always have some kind of protections in your APIs. EventBridge connections use secret managers in the back to store the secrets and store those API keys and those passwords and those tokens. So that's something that will keep the secrets out of the state machine. So then it cannot get leaked and you cannot expose it in your code, and we are all happy. So let's see this in action because I think this is the best way to explain it. I will first show you from the Workflow Studio. This is a state machine that I have built with code, so the code will be available for you. So let's go there and check it out. So this is a state machine I built for this demo. There is a third-party endpoint here that we are calling, and let's open it in the edit mode so you can see it better. So now if you go to the state browsers, you can do HTTP, and here you can basically throw this little box in here. So that's the box, and this is calling an endpoint that I'm passing as a parameter here, but you can also pass it as a runtime. So this is a lovely thing of Step Functions, that everything can be dynamically. But in this case, this is my endpoint, is basically on under the hood an API gateway that I have created. It's responding to the method get, and it's connected with this connection that I told you, the EventBridge connection. We will see how everything is built in a second. There is no request body, there is no query string parameters, no headers, but you could configure everything either from the parameters here or again from the state input. And this is very powerful because everything can be dynamic. And then the most interesting bit from here is the error handling. And I think here is where we can take advantage of all the error handling capabilities that there are in Step Functions. So the first thing here is retry. So I have enabled retries for this particular endpoint. So we can open it. And this retry basically whenever the task fail. And I have made this endpoint a little bit cheeky because 50% of the time it works and 50% of the time it fails. So this will make the task fail. And then we will have an interval in where we want to do the retry so that we don't overwhelm the backend in machine that is not an API gateway. We can have retries as we want. In this case, we'll have one retry, so basically it will try 2 times. We'll have a backup rate, We'll have some jitter that makes everything random. So all this comes built in step functions. And this is very, very powerful, because if we want to build this with a Lambda function inside the code of a Lambda function, it's super hard, because maybe every retry happens in an individual function, or if it happens in the same function, you need to have that function open for the time that this is execution. Another thing I did is a catcher, and this will catch errors. In this case, it's like a try and catch. So we try to call the third party, we try 2 times. If it fails on the second retry, it will call this catcher. And basically this will handle the errors on the tasks fail, again, those errors on when my endpoint is not behaving that way, and will fall back to an SNS publish. Basically, it's sending me an email that something failed. Another thing I have configured here is a timeout. So if for any reason the API doesn't respond to me in 30 seconds, then this will fail and it will basically go to the next step. So this is, in this case, because I'm not catching those timeouts, nothing will happen, but I could add here, okay, if there is a timeout, also pass it here. But if it times out, it will just fail. So these are things that we can configure very simply from the state machine. As we talked in the previous video, we can test the state. This announcement came together with the test state, so they were bundled together, because we don't want to just deploy and launch and test state. Sometimes configuring these third-party endpoints is a little bit tricky, and we need to make sure that everything is working. So here we need to have a role that has access to invoke endpoints. We can pass parameters if we want as input of the state. And here we can get to the trace level, so we can see the request and the response. So let's start a test and let's see what happens. So here you can see this is a state output. It's working. So in this case, we were lucky. Here we can see the input and output processing on all the different stages of the state transformation in the state machine. And here we can see the request and the response from the calling the third party. So this is really handy in order to debug, in order to polish, in order to make sure that everything is working as you want it. So we can execute this. Let's see, I hope it fails so you can see it in action, but I have some fail executions already, so you will see it. So let's start a new execution. And you can see here, these failed. So you can see here, these are the parameters, blah, 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 the outputs. It's returned me a 400, and this is because my endpoint is returning that 400. Here you can see the retries. So the first time it failed, the second time it actually failed again. So these are the 2 retries, the original execution and the retry. And then here we have the message that has been sent, that is sending me an email. So here you can see that I just got this email 0 minutes ago, and that's good. So this is great. And if we run it again, we might get a totally different results, because this is random. Again, let's refresh and see what happened. Again, it failed. Now they are all failing. We can run a new execution until it doesn't fail. I think now I have configured the failure to be so high that it will fail all the time, but I think these ones were passing. So here you can see that we have the input, the output was 200, and there is no retries because it didn't go that way. So this is how it looks. So let's look at the code, because I think it's interesting. So I have in this code, you will find the broken endpoint template. So this is just a Lambda function with an endpoint, and the function basically in 80% of the cases will fail. So that's why it failed, because I want it to fail. But let's look at the state machine. That is the most interesting bit. There is some parameters there that you will need to configure. Then first we are going to create this API connection for Event Bridge. And this is using the basic authorization with password and username. So here we have a password that is a fake password and a username, because this API doesn't have an authentication. And I created a topic, so it sends me email. And here we have the state machine definition, that it looks very long, but don't get afraid, it's mostly IAM policies. So here is the definition for the state machine. We are going to look at that in a moment. A couple of definition substitutions, the endpoint, the connection ARN, and the topic. And then the policies, and the important policies are this one. First, we need to give access to the state machine to be able to invoke an HTTP endpoint. Then we need to give access to the state machine to get the secrets, because as I said before, the event connections are using secrets, so we need to give the access. And then we need to retrieve the connection details, so we need to get that from the connection. And the state machine looks something like this. Again, we already saw it. It has a couple of states. The first one is the calling the third-party API that is invoking the event, and it has this API endpoint that we are passing. And then it has the authentication, that is that connection ARN. The timeout is 30 seconds. And here you can see the catch that is calling the state fail SNS publish, and then the retry. When there is a task fail, we are going to retry with this configuration. And then we have the SNS publish that basically will send the message. So this is a very simple implementation for calling an endpoint with a lot of error handling. If you want to do this with any programming language, it takes quite a lot of work. So this is super, super powerful. So that's what I wanted to show it to you. So that's my video for you today. As I said, the code is available in GitHub. I will leave the link in the description box. I hope you like this video. I hope you like this feature. I give a thumbs up for the feature, for everything that Step Function has done during reInvent. And next week we keep on talking about launches. That's how it goes for a couple of weeks after reInvent. If you want to learn all the launches that has been announced this year, check this playlist. And if you want to learn more about the state test and how to use it from the console or from the CLI, check this video here. And I see you in another episode of FooBar. Ciao, ciao!